Welcome to another video. Today we're going to take a look at the newest version of Q4OS, which has just been released now on the 19th of December and is now based on Debian Buster 10.7. So they've got a couple of options we could have chosen from. They have the KDE version or the Trinity desktop version, which is the version that we have gone for, and it's actually a fork of KDE back on sort of the 3.5 era, which is from a time that I never really used KDE, which is why the first time I checked out this distribution I was a little bit lost and wasn't really sure what's going on. So we're in the live environment right now, and there's a couple of ISOs to choose from. So we could get the Plasma Live or the Trinity Live, and also just the install CDs, and they're all quite small size ISOs, and the one that we've got is this one here, which is 697 megabytes. Now, as per usual, we are going to run through the installer and set it up natively onto the main desktop here. But for those of you who like to just skip straight forward and miss the sort of installation part, there'll be a little timestamp in the description so you can get straight to it. So of course, Calamaris is our installer, and we're going to go for British English and next. So Europe London is the place, and English UK, and let's just make sure our keyboard is working as it should and go to the next step. Okay, so a bit of background information. We are not going to be using the Sobrent NVMe anymore. I've now designated that to my main drive, and I've actually switched my distribution back to an Ubuntu base and set that up for everything that I do on the channel. So if you'd like to see a video of me just sort of going over how I've set everything up and how I record videos, let me know in the comments below and I'll make that one of the next videos that we upload. But for today, we're going to be using the SanDisk and doing an erase disk. So it doesn't give us the option to do a swap or a swap with Hibernate, but if you look just here, it has made us a swap of 34.6 GB, which will be large enough to suspend to disk for full hibernation. And then of course we have our root partition using the ext4 file system, and then finally our EFI partition. So let's go next. Okay, user account time. So we're just going to call this one Q4, type in our password, and as per usual we are going to log in automatically without asking for the password. Okay, here's our summary. Let's make sure everything is right before we go and commit to our install, and I'll pause the video here and be back in just a moment. Okay, so the installation has complete and it only took a few minutes. So what we're going to do now is reboot and check out our freshly installed Q4OS Trinity desktop. Okay, so we're booting off disk for the first time, and there appears to be a few more steps in the setup that we have to go through before we're at the desktop. So the first thing is we need to do our default language, which is English British, and it now needs to download and install the language pack. That shouldn't take too long. There we go. Okay, next up we have the desktop profiler. Select a default desktop environment. So the lightweight and efficient Trinity desktop is installed and pre-configured as the default at the moment. Nevertheless, Q4OS's installer has auto detected your computer is powerful enough to operate more advanced KDE Plasma desktop environment. We're going to stick with the Trinity though, so we're just going to go ahead and click that and then move to the next step. Okay, we have the desktop profiler, so we could choose how to install our software profile. We could have a full-featured desktop with web browser, Office Suite, and recommended application sets, which is recommended for regular users. We then have the basic Q4OS desktop with common utilities, system tools, and libraries. And then last but not least, we have the ultimately minimal desktop. You'll be free to set up anything by yourself, and it's for experts only. So we're going to go for the fully sort of fledged desktop installation, but I quite like the fact that it gives you the option to choose before you're actually into your desktop. Install. Right, I'm not too sure how long this part of the process is going to take, so again we're going to pause the video here and be back once this has finished. Okay, so that part of the installation has finished, and it did take quite a while to be fair. So although the part with Calamaris was very quick with the initial install, this does add into your sort of overall install time before you actually get to your desktop, but this is the last step, so we can start to check things out. And here we are. So you'll probably notice straight off the bat it has a very sort of Windows-esque look and feel, and that's going to be a running theme throughout this entire desktop. So first things first, we will run through the welcome screen very quickly. So welcome to Q4OS. Fast and powerful desktop operating system focused on long-term stability, reliability, and a classic style user interface. Q4OS is installed as a very basic and clean desktop environment with the minimal software kit. Now is the right time to adjust your new desktop. You might want to make use of tweaking shortcuts below. So we have the Run Desktop Profiler, which is what we just done before here. We then have Install Applications, Install Proprietary Codecs, Turn on Desktop Effects, Switch to Kick Off Start Menu, and Set Auto Login. So let's check out the Install Applications. So it's got its own little software center here, which doesn't appear to have too much really going on. So let's see how many applications we have in total. So we have 55 applications and a little search bar here. So let's see if it's got Kden Live. It does indeed, but like I said, 55 is not a lot of applications. So clicking here is going to open up Synaptic, which is a very good sort of package manager for Ubuntu or Debian based distributions. And here you'll notice we have 1,697 packages installed out of the box. So not loads, but a little bit more than what I would have thought it would have been actually for a light desktop environment like this. So let's leave that for now. We will install some applications throughout the video, but for now we're going to leave it as it is. We could then turn off desktop effects, or turn on, sorry. So do you want to turn on desktop effects? Let's go for it. So desktop effects have been enabled. Please log in again to take changes effect. Log in again to take changes effect. Okay. Switch to kickoff start menu or set auto login. So let's see what the other menus are. So in menu type we have kickoff, bourbon or classic. So we're currently on bourbon. Let's test out kickoff. Okay, so that should have changed our application launcher, and it has indeed. So I'm not too sure what I think of this. So it has a search bar at the top now. We have our leave, history, computer, applications, which again is in a very sort of Windows-esque kind of feel from the old style start menu that you'd get from XP, with the sort of applications in their own little folders there as well. And then we have, let's go back to switch to a different one, the classic. Let's check out the classic, which is again, yeah, very classic style there with arrows there, and it will sort of open up and expand the categories that you hover over. Not too bad. And now let's go back onto the default, which is bourbon, and then check that one out. Okay, so very Windows XP kind of vibe here. So you have all applications button here, which again will have your programs in this sort of hierarchical sort of folder structure. And then we can just go back by clicking this button, and then we have some quick launches here for my documents, my computer, and then a few applications. So installed applications from Q4OS software, Google Chrome, which is going to be your default web browser, Control Center, which we'll check out in just a moment, and then a few other things, and then we can lock and turn off a computer. And we have a search bar here, and if I remember, you can also search for the internet from within your application launcher, which is not something I'm usually a massive fan of, but let's give it a go. So let's type in Tyler's Tech. So no matches found, but then we could go for search internet, and it will open it up in your default web browser, which of course is Google Chrome, and then it will search the internet for that search term. Again, not my kind of thing, but it's pretty good for those that like to just search straight from within their desktop's application launcher. Okay, and then the last but not least, we can set auto login, and there's some more options here. So we can set up screen scaling, hardware information, documents online, and donate to Q4OS. Okay, so overall it's a single panel layout, as we can see here, and we can do a few things here, I do believe. So if we go to unlock panels, we can now add applets to the panel, we can add applications, we can remove it, we can lock it again, and then we can configure the actual panel itself. So here's how we configure things. Can we change the size? We can indeed. So it's currently on 42 pixels. So let's bring it down a bit lower to something more kind of my size. Let's try 34. There we go, not too bad. And we're going to leave it there, but we could also change the position to anywhere on our screen by clicking one of these boxes, for example, if we wanted it at the top, or if we just chuck it straight back down at the bottom. Now at the right, we have our clock, which pops open a little calendar when you do a single click. We then have our volume slider here, and I'm just going to make sure it's muted for now. Then we have our active connections and a little clipper for clipboard tool for sort of copy and pasting, etc. And then of course we have desktop icons, so sticking with that kind of Windows XP kind of vibe. What we're going to do is do a quick reboot and see how much RAM we're using on a fresh boot, and then we'll start sort of getting into things and having a proper look around. Okay, so here we are, and it is quite light, to be fair, out of the box at 480 megabytes from a fresh reboot, and there is our swap partition there, which will be large enough for hibernation, that we'll test out towards the end of the video. Now I wonder if we have window splitting by dragging it to a side of the screen. We don't appear to, and I can't do a super and left click, because as soon as I press super, or even if I hold it, it will then automatically open up the application launcher. So window snapping doesn't appear to work out of the box, but let's keep going. So applications wise, I can't quite remember everything this comes with, so let's have a look. Again, I don't think I'm a massive fan of the sort of application launcher structure, but here we go. So in accessories, it will then pop open more categories. So in edutainment, I had to double check that's what that said there. We have mathematics for science, which is going to be some packages from LibreOffice suite of applications, which we'll check out which version in a moment. It's going to be quite an old version though, as we of course are based on Debian. So in games for arcade, we have K-Bounce, the bouncy ball game. We then have Solitaire and K-Minesweeper-like game. And now in internet, we of course have Google Chrome as our default web browser, Kmail and Conqueror, which again is another web browser. And I think it also does the file manager, the default file manager for this desktop. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. And then also has Kmail installed out of the box as well. So we have Kmail and Thunderbird included out of the box. Now in multimedia, we have Amarok, which is a music player that I haven't used in years. I used to be a big fan of Amarok, Then we have Clementine, so we have 2 music players. We then have a recording tool, volume control and VLC media player, as well as XF disk burning tool. So in Office, of course, we do have the full LibreOffice suite, but it's going to be version 6.1 or something. Let's just quickly have a look. And we do have dictionary support installed out of the box and ready enabled. And the version, of course, is 6.1.5.2, but you can always update that to a newer version if you preferred. Okay, so that's pretty much everything in Office, I do believe. Let's just have a little double check there. So, of course, we have the K organizer as well for personal organizing and QPDF view. And then KDE, we also have Ocular, the document viewer. Now, let's have a look in settings. So we have the firewall configuration. Here we go, very simple firewall. You're probably used to this kind of firewall if you've ever used Linux before. Very simple stuff. Let's keep moving. Again, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this this application launcher sort of structure for the categories of applications, but anyway. We then have the look switcher. So I remember quite liking this. So out of the box, of course, your sort of default theme is this, and if we opened up our files manager, which is right here, which of course is Conqueror, version R14.0.6. So let's have a look at how these all themes sort of work together now. So we have Debonair, which is what we are currently on. We then have Q4OS Default, Slide, Spring, Wine Classic, and if we go to show all themes, it should give us a few more, but keep in mind that some of these may be incomplete or under development. Okay, right, let's go through these one by one and see how things look. So we're going to start at the top, and let's go for Apply Theme. So the theme has been set. You need to re-log in for this session. Oh, that's a bit annoying. Okay, let's do that now. And while we're there, we can check out our login screen anyway. Or is it just going to log us straight in? No, there we go. A nice old school login screen there. So Tyler, clicking that will then put your username in the username field. Type in your password and then you're straight back into the desktop. And there's your nice little old school loading screen there. Okay, I'm not too sure I like this already. A very big panel at the bottom here. And is our application launcher any different? It is indeed. So I do believe they've switched that to one of the other application launchers. I think that one was called, so we had Kickoff, Bourbon and Classic. I think that's Kickoff. Okay, and then we have a little virtual desktop switcher here, which is pretty cool. So let's open up an application. There is our files manager, so very sort of Windows XP kind of vibe there. And can we drag it and drop it? We can't, so it wasn't quite ready in those days for the sort of dragging and oh, we can, look at that. There we go. So the virtual desktops kind of behaves pretty much what you'd expect from a KDE desktop environment, to be honest. So that's all working as it should. There's no sort of keyboard shortcuts for Control, Alt and directionals out of the box though, from what I can tell. Okay, let's go back to the look switcher and check out some of the other themes. Is it going to find it? I don't know. I don't like this. Can we make this a bit bigger? Ah, that's a bit better. Okay, let's go back to applications, go back into settings and then open up our look switcher. And you will also notice our icons are different as well in this theme. So let's go back to show all themes. And now let's try out, we're going to just skip the high contrast ones. Let's go straight for KDE Classic. Again, we've got to log out and log back in. Updating system config. Okay. Let's see what the loading screen for this one looks like. There we go. Trinity desktop environment. Okay. This looks a bit cleaner, to be fair. I'm not quite sure why these are all the way over here. Perhaps we could put some more sort of quick launch applications there. But again, we have a virtual workspace switching like we did in the first one. And it's still quite a large panel, but it's not quite as large as the previous one. And now let's open up on My Documents. Okay, I'm not too sure I like the background of the window there, the kind of cloudy look to the application window. And let's also test out Google Chrome with this new theme as well. Okay, so Google Chrome hasn't really changed too much. Let's open up the Conqueror web browser. There we go. So super old school kind of vibes again with this theme. And again, that's going to be quite a common theme throughout the rest of this desktop. So far, I think the default theme has been the best looking one that we've seen. Right, oh god, look at the application launcher. Very old school style. So we want settings again. And then we want to go back into desktop maybe. Nope. Right, let's try the search with this one. So look. Oh god, it's just gone off the search. Switcher. So settings, there it is. Okay, we're not going to go through all of them, so we'll go for a couple more and then we'll move on to something else. Let's go to show all themes again. Right, so we have Redmond, which is going to be again a very classic Windows style. We can see it there. I'm not going to apply that one, but as you can see, you still have the virtual desktop switching and then just an old school Windowsy kind of vibe to it. Okay, slide. We'll check this one out. Let's go to apply theme, log out. It's a bit of a shame that we can't just change themes on the fly. That does make things take a bit longer than what I'd like, but there we go. It's the old school way of doing things. Okay. Right, I'm quite excited to see what this one's going to look like. There we go. So I do remember this being a theme in the last one we checked out. So we've got our application launcher to the left now, but it seems to be overlapping with our desktop icons, which is a little bit annoying. So let's just drag them to the right. So we've got a bit of transparency now, and the clock is now an analog clock as opposed to a digital version. And we've got a super XP looking application launcher there, even matching the traditional colours. And can we click on that and change our picture? No. Okay, let's check out one or two more and then switch it back to the default look. So let's go for look switcher. There we go. And show all themes. Okay, but before we do, actually, let's open up our files manager and see how that looks. Yeah, so again, just super old school Windowsy vibe there, even with the action title bar buttons there. Right, so we then also have spring. So I'm going to skip that one. We have sunshine, wine classic, yellow and blue. Let's check out this one. Log out now. Okay, log back in. I'm glad that we've progressed past the stage of having to do all these logins and logouts. Okay, so a lot of blue and yellow going on. Certain things are quite hard to actually make out, specifically the clock there. I can see that it's got the date and time, I do believe. But again, it's very hard to actually see what's going on in this theme. But you can hover over things and it will expand you with a bit more information. So application launcher, nice. And now let's open up all my documents. There we go. So yeah, I mean, not my kind of vibe this, but I guess if you're someone who likes to just strain your eyes trying to work things out, this might be the theme for you. Again, of course, we do then also have the Workspace Switcher there. So we're going to switch back to the default now and then carry on with the rest of this desktop. So again, we're going to type in look switcher, hit enter, and nothing's going to happen. Okay, very nice. Right, let's look for look switcher. God, it is hard to make out what's actually going on here. There it is. Okay, let's go back to Debonair now, and then that'll be the last time we have to log out and log back in. Okay, we are back and things are looking a bit more normal. Obviously our sort of desktop icons are a bit all over the place now. Do we do a right click and can we arrange icons or anything like that? Icons, we can. So let's align to a grid. That's not really doing anything. Oh, it's done something. Let's try that again. Nope. What about sort icons, and let's just go for by type. There we go. So it does have icon sort of organization from a right click. And while we're here, what else can we do with a right click? So we can configure the desktop, refresh the desktop. We could change the way the windows are either cascading or unclutter them. And then we can also go to configure desktop. Okay, so here we can change the background picture. We can do some scaling, single color, and we also have the behavior of the desktop, multiple desktops, screensaver, and display. So let's test out one of these screensavers, eh? Why not? Let's go for one of these bad boys. There you go. There's your screensaver. Nice stuff. Okay, let's just start having a little play around now. But before we do that, I want to go into the overall control center now, which is where most of the settings for this desktop will be taking place. So I think it's called Control Center. Nope. Hold on, we should have a little link on the right here. There we go, Control Center. Right, so here it is. So we have appearance and themes, which is what we've just looked at, but we can also, as well as doing the look switcher, we can do the background, colors, fonts, and the screensaver. We then have desktop, which is where again we've just looked at, so it's got all those settings that we just looked at from the right click and configure desktop. And then we have internet and network, and in here we can set our web browser connection preferences, a local network browser, I do believe that's going to say, browsing, proxy, Samba status, and in the zero conf. We then have peripherals, regional and accessibility, security and privacy, sound and multimedia, system administration, and TDE components. So a massive change from the sort of settings and control system settings that you'll find in KDE these days. A lot more simple, to be fair. And here we have the Auto Start Manager, the default applications, file associations, file manager, service manager, session manager, spell checker, TDE performance. What does this do then? Okay, so minimize memory usage. Interesting. Let's have a look how this all works. So at the moment we are in for file browsing only. So always is used with care, and then never, we can go for never, and then it will just not really sort of hold anything back, but we are going to leave it for file browsing only. There we go. Okay, let's start installing some applications in and just having a bit of a play around, and then we'll test out hibernation as well and see if everything's working out of the box as it should. Before we do that though, I have noticed actually we have got a bit of screen tearing going on, so let's do a quick test, and if need be we're going to have to sort out that screen tearing, and while we're there we can also see if this includes the AMD GPU drivers out of the box, but we'll give it a go. So let's go for screen tearing. No, don't sign in. Okay, screen tearing test. To make sure my volume is all the way down. It is indeed. Yep, nice bit of TikTok ads there. There we go. Right, I can already see some tearing at the top there. I don't know if the capture screen is going to pick that up. So what we're going to have to do is sort out the screen tearing. I'm going to check to see if there's a AMD GPU driver installed or anything like that. And if there is, I will then just go and make an Xorg conf file for it. If there isn't, we'll install the AMD GPU. So I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so the AMD GPU stuff is actually all included out of the box. So all we really need to do to sort out that screen tearing is just copy this file that we've just created into our Xorg folder. So we're going to go into Documents, which is where I've saved that file, and just do an ls to see that it is definitely there, which is the 20 amdgpu.conf. And we're just going to do a sudo cp, and we're going to copy that into etc x11 slash, I always forget, is it xorg.confd. And then hopefully when we reboot and do the same test, that screen tearing will no longer be there. Okay, it's now time for the moment of truth, and let's see if that screen tearing has now disappeared. So again, we're just going to full screen it, and we're going to look out for any breaks in these lines here. So it appears that we are all good. So the original tear was up around here, and it's no longer there, so screen tearing should now be a thing of the past. Now, in this newer version, I do believe snapd and everything like that has been completely removed. So let's go into console very quickly and see if there are any universal packaging formats like Flatpak or Snap actually on this computer. So we'll do a Snap list, nothing, and we'll do a Flatpak list, nothing. So what I am going to do is go ahead and set up Flatpak to use on this setup, because I am going to be editing this very video on this computer, but we're not going to get any native packages for Kdenlive. We're just going to do it through Flatpak. So again, we're going to go back into our internet browser, flathub.org, and we're going to go to the quick start for Debian, as this is based on Debian, and we're going to set up Flatpaks here and see if everything's working as it should. Okay, so of course we want to do the apps install for Flatpak. We're going to skip the GNOME software plugin, and we're just going to do it with a terminal command. So here we go. Oh, it's got no Control-Shift-V for copy and paste. That's a bit annoying. So we're just going to paste it like that with a right click. And that's going to go ahead and install Flatpak for us. And then while that's doing that, we're going to go ahead and grab the repo for FlatHub. And we will need to do a reboot for it to actually work. And then we can install Kdenlive and a few other applications. Make sure they're all working. And then we can wrap the video up there with some final thoughts. Okay, so again, we're going to have to type in... we're going to have to right click, paste, type in our password. And that should be all we need to do. So we're going to do a final reboot, and then we'll check out a few other things as well as hibernation and make sure that works, and then we'll wrap it up there. Okay, so we've installed our Flatpak applications from FlatHub, which are Kdenlive and GIMP, and they've installed absolutely fine. So it all works once you've installed Flatpak, and you will find them in your application launcher. So for example, let's go to applications, and for graphics, here you'll find GIMP along with Digicam, GwenView, ColorPaint, Kuka, KSnapshot on LibreOffice Draw, and there is Kdenlive, and of course we could just search for it, and it will appear there just like any other application launcher on any other desktop. What we're going to do now is test out hibernation and see if that works. I see no reason why it shouldn't, as it's based on Debian. I've never had any problems with hibernation on Debian, but we're going to try and do it the GUI way as well. So we're going to go to turn off. Wow, that's quite a slow animation there for that little sort of shadow there, and we're going to go to hibernate computer. So again, if everything's still there when we reboot and resume from hibernation, everything has worked as it should. Okay, so we have resumed from hibernation by just mashing our enter key once the computer has gone into a low power state, and unfortunately our applications are no longer with us. So at least for us on this computer at this moment in time, hibernation did not work out of the box. But overall, I think I'm going to wrap the video up there. Again, it's not my kind of desktop that I would personally use on any of my own machines, but I do think it feels a very sort of particular and narrow sort of niche. So if you're looking for a very light distribution, because it was quite light at just over 450 MB on a fresh boot, and you come from the older style of sort of computing and you like that kind of Windows XP kind of look, feel and vibe, then this might be a good choice for you. I'm going to wrap it up there, but thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and join the Discord. There's a link in the description. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.